Ruth, the second chapter, verses 1 through 3. Amen. Amen. And it reads, and Naomi had a kinsman of her husband's, a mighty man of wealth of the family of Elimelech, and his name was Boaz. And Ruth, the Moabitess, said unto Naomi, let me now go to the field and glean ears of corn after him, in whose sight I shall find grace. And she said unto her, go, my daughter. Verse 3. And she went and came and gleaned in the field after the reapers, and her hap was to light on a part of the field belonging unto Boaz, who was of the kindred of Elimelech. I'm already happy, y'all. It's from the series Family, Failures, Fatalities, and Faith. Finding grace while exercising faith. Finding grace while exercising faith. Boy, this is something else. This is just a beautiful book, a beautiful story. You know, we've been dealing with this for about 3 weeks now, and as I look back on these verses, it started off real rough. There's 3 main characters in this book of Ruth. One being Naomi, a woman who represents the Christian folks who backslide. Have anybody backslidden before? I know we all been in church all our lives, and we've been on time every Sunday, and we never went through a spell where we was missing for a little while. But situations sometimes cause some people to backslide. And when you backslide, that means God is right here, and you find yourself walking away from God. You stop praying like you used to pray. You don't exercise the faith like you used to exercise. You stop giving like you used to give. You stop working in the church like you used to work. And you used to be here every Sunday, but now you here every now and then. You might not say that you are a backslider, but you're sliding away from God. This one character named Naomi, she left her place with God in Bethlehem because there was famine in the land, and the family picked up and walked away from God. See, Bethlehem represented the place with God. Bethlehem was a place. The name Bethlehem means plenty of food. And you will leave a place that plenty of food just because a little famine came through right now and walk away from God. She represented a backsliding Christian. And because of her disobedience to stay where God told her to stay, it caused her to have 3 funerals. It's very dangerous walking away from God. And her husband died. And she had 2 boys that she took with them to Bethlehem. They died. It started off rocky. But God, in his amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like all of us. That was just one character. The other character in this book, his name is Boaz. Boy, I'm getting excited because see, that's when it really gets good, when Boaz come into the picture. See, Boaz represent the picturistic of Jesus Christ himself. A man full of wealth, a man that had it all, the man had everything that Ruth wanted, and Boaz represented God himself because he showed some grace. The third person was Ruth, who was of the Gentile family. She wasn't a Christian. She was an outsider. She was somebody on the outside of the church and didn't know God. And somehow, some way, she identified with God when she saw Naomi and saw her faith, and she said, I will go where you go. I'm going to lodge where you lodge. Your people going to be my people, and finally your God going to be my God. She saw something in Naomi that Naomi really didn't see in herself. And somehow, the same thing that caused her to leave God was the same thing that brought her back to God. See, sometimes, y'all, we go around a whole circle and find ourselves right back. I almost said in love again. Amen. Right back in the place where you left God at. Sometimes, y'all, you find yourself coming right back where you left off at. And here it is. She left. Ruth was told to stay because Naomi said, I don't have no more boys. My husband had died, and the only way you can get in this family, it got to be somebody, some kin, and I don't have nobody kin to me. So stay where you are, Ruth. And Ruth said, no, I see something. I see God in you. And a lot of times, y'all, we don't understand when we're trying to do good, when we're trying to be holy, when we're doing the right thing, somebody can see God in you. So you got to be careful. You got to be careful how you act. You got to be very careful that when pressure start to apply to you, that you don't get out of your character. That Naomi didn't fall out. Naomi didn't cuss God. Naomi didn't walk out from the church. Naomi didn't get mad when God took her husband and her two sons. She still stayed faithful and holy to God. And Ruth saw something in her. And Ruth said, I don't want to stay here around my folks no more. I want some of that God that you got in you. And they left and went to Bethlehem because the harvest was coming. The harvest was coming. And God, in his infinite wisdom, in the provision that he has for us, when we can't see, he already preparing it for us. And they left the right time to the right place to go in for the harvest. God has some good timing. And see, we don't recognize that we move in the right direction when you moving toward God than moving away from him. And they started going back toward Bethlehem. So we find ourselves in a place that Ruth wasn't familiar with. she was in a strange land, and sometimes y'all situations takes us some places that we're not familiar with. And sometimes God allows things to happen and to where we in some strange situations. Have you ever been in a strange situation? Well, you just don't know which way to turn. You don't know your sense of direction because you had never been there before. And people and things and everybody start telling you and saying, suggesting what you should do. And the first thing you should do is just say, let me talk to the Lord, because I never been here before. And Naomi had a kinsman. I like that word. See. The only way you can get in a family, it has to be some kin. I know y'all have been talking about Naomi and Ruth and all them because her husband died and now she had to find somebody else in the family. And that's the way it was back in the day. In order to stay within this lineage, you had to stay in the family. So Naomi had a kinsman that was rich. Just wasn't any kind of kinsman. He was rich. He had it all. He was a mighty man of wealth. He didn't just have a little bit of it. He had a lot of it. And he was some kin to the husband of Naomi. And he was very valuable in this particular chapter 2. And his name was Boaz. He had a powerful name. And see, sometimes, y'all, you are identified by your name. You are identified by your name. And you should hold that very dear to you. Your name should mean something to you. Your name should mean something to you. And his name meant something in that town. And so Ruth found herself in a situation in a strange land, not knowing anybody, but Ruth had sense enough to want to go to work. Now, that's why I'm fitting to put some of y'all to sleep. See, when we don't have nothing, we want to go to the government for welfare. Yeah, we want to sign up for some stuff that they can give me every month. We don't want to take the approach that let's go out and find me a job where I can get my own money and do my own thing. We want to make sure we go sign up for welfare. And what happens, we sign up for welfare and God wants us to fare well. Ruth had enough sense. And she said, I want your permission, Naomi, to allow me to go out and work for both of us. Now, there was two things that happened when she said that. Now, first of all, she showed Naomi enough respect to get her permission to go out and work in the field. A lot of folks these days ain't asking for no permission, ain't looking for no work. And she said, let me go to the field and glean. What do the word glean mean? That means that, first of all, you're going to go and get the leftovers. Now, it wasn't one of those big paying jobs, William. It wasn't a job where you can say, oh, I finished school and I'm this or I'm that. No. It was one of those jobs that didn't nobody want to say that you're doing. I'm digging a ditch. Wasn't nothing proud to be a gleaner. But guess what? She didn't think that she was too high enough to start at the bottom. We have some folks now talking about $12 ain't nothing to work for. I ain't working for no $12. But you at zero now. And you want to demand $19 and you ain't did nothing in 10 years. She didn't think she was too high enough to start at the bottom. She just wanted to do something for her and her mother-in-law because they didn't have nobody else to help them. And let me tell you, one step in the grace, one step in obedience, one step toward faith can get you a lot. She could have sat at home and talked to Naomi all day long, and they both starved to death. But she said, let me go to the field and glean ears of corn after him in whose sight I might find some grace. Yeah. Yeah, she went to war. She went searching for food and she found favor. Boy, y'all don't appreciate this. See, sometimes y'all, you going for this reason, but you end up getting a blessing for another reason. God said, I know you're going through something. Just go to church on Sunday morning. I ain't doing nothing. And it's snowing outside just a little bit. I'm going to sit at home today. It's just my opportunity to just sit here. I ain't doing nothing. And she says that I should find grace. She was exercising faith to go out and work. And then she got some favor. Now, Naomi, she respected her request. She could have said, no, you're going to here with me. But she said, go, my daughter. And she went. The problem with some of us, when God say go, you don't move. And we don't get our blessings sometimes because we stand put. She went for food and found favor, and she got fulfilled. The providence in the search involved God's command in the past. Ruth went into the field to glean. She was allowed to do this because of a command that God had given them way back when. In the book of Leviticus, he told them, those of you that own the field, I need you to leave some stuff for the poor. The problem with some folks, they want it all to themselves. They don't want nobody else to have. They want it. They want to hoard all of the stuff, and don't nobody else can have a chance to make anything. They want it all for themselves. But God told them way back then, what I need you to do, reapers. See, a lot of people want to reap, but they don't want to sow. They want to get, but they don't want anybody else to have. He says, I need you to leave some for the poor and the strangers. In other words, the foreigners that come in the land that don't have any work. And here it was. She went on out. She went, and then God came. She went, and God showed up. She went, and God showed his face. And she went, and you can't get nothing if you don't go. Some of us will be praying, God, I want you to come and put it right on my doorstep so I know that you gave it to me. I ain't going nowhere till you put it right at my doorstep, and you ain't came yet. God said, you got to come out of this house and get this. You think you're going to lay up in the house, sleep all day, and do nothing, and think God going to come and just set it right there at your doorstep like you UPS or somebody. You want an education, but you don't even want to go and get the degree. We want a check to come to us, and we don't do nothing. Y'all don't get mad at me all y'all want to. I agree with the Republicans when they say we need to get rid of some of this welfare for some folks who are able to work and go out here and make it for themselves. They don't need a check for nothing. Hello? It ain't nothing wrong with you, and you want somebody to come give you a check every month. If you ain't disabled or you ain't 65 or older or handicapped any kind of way, then you need to work. It's a shame. Some of these folks sit up here all day long and do nothing, waiting on food stamp, welfare check, and everything else, and don't even try to work. I don't care if you're getting mad at me. I don't care. If they cut all this mess off, you'll get out and work. That's why we can't find folks to work today, because they sitting at home smoking dope all day on your dime. Those of you that own some house, if you're going to get some rent, you're going to smell the dope soon you open the door. That's all right. Okay. Okay. When I'm lying, y'all stop me. And they get mad when they had to pay some rent. Hello? I ain't telling you something somebody told me. I'm telling you something that I know. Mr. Hogan, it was this girl had to pay $10 a month. The government was paying everything else. And she had the nerve to say, you don't need $10. I don't care if I don't need $10. You're going to give me that $10. That bag of dope I see over there costs more than $10. All that whiskey over there on the counter costs more than $10. Y'all, we need to start telling the truth about this stuff. I don't care about no Democrat or Republican. If it's right, it's right. God wasn't intending for somebody to just set up and get no welfare. He said in his word, you got to go get it. She went and she gleaned in the field. She went to work because she wanted to eat. And her house, see, that word kind of tricky when you look it up, because it seemed like she had some luck. When you got God, it ain't no luck in it. It's some favor. She went to a place to find food, but found some favor. She found grace even in the midst of going through her faith. She found some grace. She went on the part of the field. God will send you somewhere, y'all. You don't even know where you're going. She went to the part of the field that was owned by Boaz. She didn't know what she was doing. She just went where God told her to go. See what happens, y'all, on the outside of the field, they left some stuff where they can get some leftovers. They didn't go in the middle of the field where the owners and folks could go. They had to go on the outside and get whatever they could on the outside. See, sometimes, y'all, you got to get it on the outside before you get on the inside. Stop complaining that you're on the outside. Just do what God tells you, and he can get you on the inside. You couldn't get in by your name, but she got in by Boaz. I don't want to get ahead of myself. See, if I get ahead of myself, you won't come back next week to hear the rest of the story. This is like some Young and the Restless, some General Hospital, some all my children. It's some things, days of my life. All that y'all got to come back next week. Because I know you ain't gonna read it. You have to come back to hear it because it's a good story. See, she had to get it on the outside. But later on, she's gonna be on the inside. Because her name didn't carry weight, but when she got hooked up with God's name, God brought on it on the inside. And she says, she went to the part of the field that belonged to a man that was wealthy, that had clout, that had some grace in his hand, that had some favor in his hand. He represented God, and she was on the outside, but now she's going to be coming on the inside. Have anybody ever been on the outside? Have anybody ever felt like they was an outsider? Have anybody ever been in a situation that you needed somebody to get you on the inside? God says, not only was his name Boaz, he was kin to the husband of the woman that gave her permission to go out to glean. See, y'all might call that luck. Y'all use the word lucky too much because you ain't lucky, you blessed. I looked up and went to the right place. No, God sent you to the right place. She belonged. She got into the field that belonged to Boaz, who was kin to Elimelech. And boy, I want you to come back because when Boaz laid eyes on Ruth, whoo. When Boaz laid eyes on Ruth, that was all she wrote. Some of y'all might not have saw somebody that looked like Ruth. But when Boaz saw Ruth, he said, that's the one. Boy, I wish I could tell this story already. But to be continued. I'm going to end it right there. But all I can tell you was Boaz going to come on the scene. Boaz going to come to the field, and he going to start asking questions. Who is that lady over there? And the rest is history. The door of the church is open.